Hello, I'm Donna Collins, Executive Director of the Ohio Arts Council. Today's conversation comes to you from the Arts Beacon of Light, Finding Hope in the New Normal, a project inspired by Ohio Arts Council board member Tina Houston. Through the Ohio Arts Beacon, we aim to give our artists a place to share, connect, and cope with the challenges presented by COVID-19. We hope to inspire you while giving artists a platform for connection, expression, and encouragement. We hope you'll sit back and enjoy the conversation. So let's get started. Today, I'm joined by Ohio artist, educator, and teaching artist, Joe Martino. Welcome, Joe.
Hi, thank you. Welcome to you too. Nice being here.
We are so happy that you joined us today. Thank you. As an artist, you specialize in contemporary art, maybe considered sometimes as abstract contemporary art. And I remember a visit to an Ohio Arts Festival where I thought about your work as being multidimensional and very vibrant. Start us off today by talking about your art making and how you describe it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I would call my work contemporary. It's a mixed media type of painting. I use various things that cause texture in my paintings. Things like pieces of paper, pieces of metal, lots of heavy gesso and things like that that cause texture. And then I start adding colors. My painting style is mostly a kind of a style where I just start and then it sort of speaks to me as I'm working on it. And it's funny to say that a painting will speak to you, but as I work on it, it sort of tells me what to do next. So basically, I work in that kind of process-driven procedure. Most of the time, I think I'm influenced by things like patterns in nature and different types of things that I've studied in the past, like physical processes of science and things. So I'm mostly a science guy that is an artist at heart. That's kind of what I do.
I like that. To our audience, if you want to know more about Joe and his work, you can visit his website at joemartinoart.com, and the address is on your screen. One of the questions on our minds is about the COVID-19 crisis and how it's impacting artists. Share with us how the crisis is impacting you creatively and personally, if you will. And give us some examples of innovative ways you've been connecting with people and how it's impacting your art making.
Usually I have done art shows. I'm on the art show circuit, so I do, probably for the last 20 years, I've been doing, anywhere from 12 to 15 juried shows. And then I travel to those shows all over the country and sell my artwork. This year, all of them are canceled, all the way up till, I think I have a couple shows in the late fall, like October, November, that haven't been canceled, but those will probably cancel. And so most of my shows are canceled. Things that I'm doing now to try to stay so that customers can see my work is to update my website. I've been updating my Facebook pages, my Instagram pages. I have an Etsy account that maybe I'm thinking about doing that. One of my art shows in Philadelphia has done something very creative where the show is canceled, the June show. It's at Rittenhouse Square in Philadelphia. And they are doing an online kind of virtual art show with all the artists that were accepted in the show. And each artist is to submit more paintings and a video. And so they're really working hard at trying to get customers to come to our online sources. So that's kind of what I've been doing.
Well, that's a lot. And I'm sorry about the cancellations because not only does it impact you, but it impacts all of us too when we can't see your new work and the opportunities that you bring and your fellow artists bring.
I feel so sorry for a lot of my artist friends who this has totally wiped out their income for the year. And And they're all scrambling to try to find ways of reaching out to customers. So I know I'm having the same problem.
Yes. Joe, I learned some new things about you when I was preparing for our time together today. I didn't know, or maybe I just don't remember, which is very possible, that you were a teacher of chemistry, anatomy, and marine biology. So then it all made sense, perfect sense to me, about how these sciences influence your work as an artist. So will you talk for a minute and tell us about when the sciences and arts merged for you to help you form the artist you are today?
Sure, I've been an artist my whole life. I have a painting hanging up in my studio of a painting I did when I was 13. So I've done it my whole life, but I've always loved science. And when I was maturing and looking for a possible thing to study in college, my father was one of those guys that was always pushing me to get a good job, and he wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. So he pushed me toward not majoring in art, although I did think about that. And so I became a science major within art. I actually, for a while, I was trying to do a kind of a double major in college where I could be a chemistry major and a fine art major. And most of my counselors said, you cannot do that. You have to pick one career or the other. So I became basically a science person, and I got a degree in chemistry and biology. But I've always done art shows, and I love art. And I can remember when I was a junior in college, I signed up for several science classes in organic chemistry and calculus, and then I also signed up for a live drawing class. And they said, you cannot do that. You can't take art classes and science classes. So I had to choose one career goal. So that was mine. But now, eventually I got to do both, which is really cool.
I have a follow-up to that, Joe. What happens today when a young person comes to you and says, my mom is pressing me to be, a math teacher in public school, and I know that the arts are the way for me, that painting or sculpting or music, no matter the art form. What do you say to those young people because of your own life experiences?
And I've had that happen lots of times. Some of my younger art friends were saying, what can I do? How can I get into and make this into a career? And I always tell them, you got to find a way of making a living. I mean, obviously you have to. As much as your creative juices want you to be an artist full time, you have to be practical and find a way of actually paying your bills. I have many artist friends that are the most amazing artists in the world, and they are really struggling now to try to stay alive and pay their bills. So it is something that young people have to think about.
Yeah, I bet it's hard to stay in your lane, right?
Right.
To keep the peace with the student or the young person or even an older person who's thinking about artist as a career, and then not getting too much in the way of the parents who are saying no, math, teacher, doctor.
I definitely can sympathize with them because I have struggled with that when I was young. And so it is something that there are artists that can make a fine living, but you have to really figure that out.
Speaking of artists, I was thinking about who you might name as artists who inspire you the most. So let's change direction for a minute. Share with us a few of your favorite artists, those well-known folks, up-and-comers, and tell us what attracts you to their work.
Of course, I love some of the old abstract artists, some of the original abstract artists like Kandinsky and, of course, Picasso, Dali. I will have several of his paintings. Those kind of artists. Contemporary artists, there's one man in Asheville, Jonas Gerard, who is an amazing artist, and I've gone to his studio a couple of times, and he's really a fabulous abstract artist that has sort of taught me about how to stay in the moment, be spontaneous, let the music influence your art, and it's really fun to to go to his studio and see what he's done. He's about my age, and he's made a successful career out of being an artist. So yeah, some of those abstract famous painters, Moreau's another one, is a big influence on me. There's another famous artist, his name is Hans Hofmann. His artwork and mine are similar, obviously. I mean, I strive to be like him, but his work is in many of the major museums.
Well, you've given me some people to look up. Thank you so much. Tell us how your artistic practice has been used to help raise morale or create community cohesion or to lighten the experience of COVID-19. I know you and Gail, your wife, are so involved in community. I'm sure there is an example or two that you could share with us.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I have lots of artist friends, and we do stay in contact, email and Facebook and FaceTime and all those things that keep us in contact, even though we're not seeing each other in person. And so we talk about creating new things and trying new things, and that's one of the things that has helped me because of not having the art shows, is that it has allowed me to try new things that I haven't done before, things that I was thinking maybe I should try, but I was always maybe worried about the fact that nobody's going to like it. Now I don't have to worry about that much. I can create these really interesting ideas that I've always wanted to try, and different things that I've attempted to create. So that's kind of a nice thing. I have several paintings going on in my studio right now that are just really different than what I've done before, which is a good thing. It makes me grow, I think. And I've had those kind of conversations with other artists about, now that we're not doing any art shows, what are you doing? And I've heard so many interesting comments from artists who are great painters who are now trying stained glass, or they're trying pottery or things like that is making them. And all those kind of things I think are good for an artist to grow and try new things.
Absolutely. I think it's interesting that the creatives among us are not afraid to go out and try something else, or stay in and try something else. And I'm always amazed at what comes of it. I have a friend who is usually a fiber artist, and she has been doing ceramics, and the pieces she has turned out are amazing. And it made me forget for just a moment that she was a fiber artist, because it seemed as if she were doing this ceramic work for decades.
Right. I just recently had you brought up a point about a fiber artist. A fiber artist friend of mine contacted me and said she liked my work and wanted to know how she could get started in doing kind of the things I do. And so I was explaining to her, well, you need to get these kind of canvases, or you need this kind of paints. And so I was sort of talking her through some of the early stages of her trying to explore acrylic painting, which was kind of cool. Her fiber art is amazing, but she's trying something totally new.
Well, I think she posed a good question to you, Joe. So if somebody wanted to start painting and they don't have your experience, your education, your background, but they've got a desire, give us a list of things we ought to track down, and maybe a few tips on getting us started if we wanted to paint.
Well, again, I've had that question come up several times from young artists that want to get started and actually market their work. And I always tell them the first thing you need to do is to create a body of work that's good, quality body of work. I always tell them to think about what is it that they can do that is better than anybody else. And many artists have tinkered in photography, stained glass, painting, but if you want to focus on something that you're really good at, that's the first way to start, is to start with a body of work that you can be proud of. And then to create a kind of a brand or a style is huge. I love it when people look at a piece of my work and say, oh, wow, that looks like a Martino. And I just love that when people say that, because even if they see it without my signature, they know it's mine. That's key, I think, to get a brand or a style. Also, I would say to a young artist, and I tell them to, learn as much as you can from other people that are successful artists. Go to art shows, go to studios, talk to gallery owners. Those kind of things are invaluable as a way to get started. I guess one other big advice would be for them to be bold and brave and be flexible with all the things that can come up, and just go for it.
Joe, I've walked down the street at a festival and knew where your booth was. I'm just saying to the audience, that's real. You can, once you know Joe's work, you're like, oh, there's Joe. I wonder if Gail's with him today.
Yeah, that is huge, and it is something that took me a while. I love all kinds of artwork, and to actually get a style that is characteristic, and that's what gallery owners want. That's the way to get into the best art shows, is to have a consistent body of work that is good quality.
Let's talk about your body of work. I'm really interested to know about the commission work you've done over the years. I think that some of our audience members would be interested about how you marketed your talents to the world and grew this really successful business as a professional artist.
Most of my commissions are done when people see my work and then they say, well, we really love that. We want something like that, only in a 2 feet by 3 feet rather than, and so they give me a special size. And the thing I usually ask them is, what is it that they saw that they liked? And then once they can convey that to me and they know what size they want, then I can start on creating something. Usually I get those commissions from people that have seen my work at art shows, or maybe have seen my work at a gallery, or maybe online, and they'll ask me if I have something in a 3 foot by 3 foot, and they want something in blue or whatever. They give me an idea. I often tell them that I'll start and I'll think about what you said, and then I'll start sending you some pictures as I go through the process, so that they can tell me if I'm on the right track or not. Usually commissions are, for me, they're harder than just selling my paintings, because sometimes people have in their mind an idea of what they want, and they can't convey that to me. But it is something I've done quite often, and it's really quite wonderful to make something that somebody wants, and this specific thing that would fit in their house. Recently, I had a commission where a person bought 2 of my paintings, and they were very happy. And then the guy emailed me and said that he wanted a 3rd one that could go with it, the same colors and same size. And I said, sure, no problem. That was the hardest commission I've ever done, because he already had the paintings. And so now I have to think about, I had pictures of it, but I had to think about what he was wanting, and making sure that the piece matched perfectly with the piece that he already had. And it was difficult, but I did it, and I sent it to them, and they loved it. So I guess I was successful. Yeah, commissions are an important part of my business, but I would rather people buy things that I've already done, to tell you the truth. But
Joe, you're a typical artist.
I always tell them, I said, you have an idea, I have an idea, and I win. I always get them to agree to my artistic interpretation of what they're saying. Everybody likes it.
That's right. None of us go to some other technology or some place and say, oh, I want to buy this piece of software, but I want you to make it with this color and this shape, and so that I can click on this button. You either buy it or you don't, right?
Right.
So maybe it's a little the same.
My work is all one of a kind original, so I don't do prints. So it's easy for somebody to say, we want that painting and we want it small. I can just make it print. I don't make prints. They're all originals. And so that sometimes is a challenge.
Yeah, I think I knew that. So tell me this, Joe. We've spent most of our time talking about your role as an artist and a teacher. What else do you want to share with us from this perspective of the work to be done and the role of the artist in this unprecedented time in our lives? What do you see the role of the artist today as we go through a pandemic and we think about what comes out on the other side of this?
Yeah, that's a tough question. Good question. And it is something I think about a lot. I think art is such an important part of our lives, or my life, and it should be a part of everybody's life. It's just a part of a sense of culture that we enjoy. From a practical standpoint, a piece of artwork makes somebody's home look beautiful, and it's something that they can enjoy and get pleasure out of looking at. I love it so much when somebody says, "Boy, we love that piece that we bought from you. We look at it every day and we never get tired of it." I said, "Oh God, thank you so much. That's such a great compliment." So yeah, something that can lift people's spirits. I've always said when I first started painting, if I can elicit an emotional response from the viewer, then I've done my job. Emotional response is such a big part of artwork, especially visual artwork, because music would be the same. So providing some kind of emotion and appreciation of beauty.
That's really thoughtful. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'd love to know how Gail, your fabulous wife, is doing and how the two of you are supporting each other through the pandemic. I mean, who wouldn't love the support of Gail Martino, right?
Right. She's amazing. She's one of those doers. She's a person that gets things done. She amazes me of all the things that she's involved in. And many of them are art related. So she's involved in art education and the state art initiatives that you're involved in. She's involved in those too. In fact, she's in the other room right now working on something to do with, I think, the Ohio Arts Council, something or other that she's working on. And so, yeah, she's an amazing woman that really supports what I do. So happy to have her. In fact, there's so many times when I'm working on a piece and I'll say, "Gail, come in here and look at this and give me your opinion." And she'll come in and say, "Wow, I really love that." Or she'll say, "Wow, I don't get that." Or she does give me a good opinion. I don't always take it, but she gives me some great advice.
Well, Joe, I know that she would, if she were here with us, she'd give 100 reasons to why she loves you and the support you give her. When I'm around the two of you together, I'm always inspired about what the image of the two of you is just like love. The kindness and the generosity you show each other. So I can't wait to see you and Gail maybe later this summer or this fall at an arts festival, a gallery, or we can meet somewhere for dinner. It's fun to be around people who love the arts and who care so much about each other and their community. Thank you so much for that. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation, and as we wrap up, Joe, thank you for being with us today. You are a beacon of light, and together we are finding hope in the new normal. To our audience, for more inspiration and stories from our Arts Beacon of Light, Finding Hope in the New Normal project, we welcome you to visit the Ohio Arts Council at oac.ohio.gov/Ohio Arts Beacon. You can also follow the OAC's Arts Beacon of Light on Instagram at Ohio Arts Beacon. We hope you'll submit your stories and share the light in your world with all of us. Until next time, let's all find hope in the new normal, and remember, the arts in Ohio are better when we work together.